Recently, I came across AdGuard Home, which is a network-wide ad blocker, looking a lot like Pi-hole on the user end. I decided to test it, and was pretty amazed by the results, so I will share everything with you in this video. Like Pi-hole, AdGuard Home is easy to install, only one command line. It's even faster than Pi-hole. You can install it on any Linux distribution. In fact, it's even available for Windows, Mac OS, Android and iOS. But to keep it simple, I will install it on Raspberry Pi OS Lite. If you want to do the same, just use Raspberry Pi Imager to flash a new SD card. Quick tip, use Ctrl+Shift+X to enable SSH directly on boot. You'll save time, especially with the Lite version. And it will be easier to do everything from your computer with copy and paste, instead of typing everything on your Pi. Then connect via SSH and do the system updates as usual. Once done, reboot your Pi and heads over their GitHub project to grab the command line. You can also find it in the video description. Paste it in your SSH terminal and wait a few seconds for the installation. It's way faster than Pi-hole. When you run the installer for Pi-hole, it installs a bunch of packages. I suspect AdGuard is quickly installed because everything is included in their code. By the way, when you compare the programming languages they use in their GitHub project, AdGuard is 40% in Go, while Pi-hole is 80% in Shell. Another difference is that Pi-hole includes a setup wizard during the installation. That's great, but as you will probably keep the default values, I prefer the way AdGuard is doing it. Anyway, for the end user it doesn't really matter that much. Let's move to the next major difference, the web interface. Both solutions include a web interface to configure and monitor everything. With AdGuard Home, you'll get a welcome wizard the first time, to create the user and password, choose the interface to listen on, etc. A great point for AdGuard because, as you may have noticed, the web interface and welcome wizard is translated in several languages. A bad point on the other hand, as AdGuard won't help you to set a static IP. As for any server, it's highly recommended setting a static IP address on your Pi. If your Pi is switching to a new address, none of your clients would get access to the internet. You have to do it manually by editing the DHCP-CD configuration file. I will add a link that explains everything in the description. With Pi-hole, just answer yes to set the static IP address during the installation and it's done for you. AdGuard Home will give you the instructions to configure your router and clients to use it as their main DNS server. That's something missing with Pi-hole, even if you can find it, hidden somewhere in the documentation. By the way, let's speak a bit about the client configuration, and we'll get back to the web interface after that. With both solutions, you need to tell your clients, computers, smartphones, tablets, to use the Raspberry Pi as their main DNS server. You can do it either by configuring your DHCP server, that deliver the DNS server to use to all clients. It will be the easiest solution for a network-wide solution. Or you can configure each client individually. Probably the best thing to do directly after the installation, to make sure everything is working properly. On Windows 11 for example, go to your advanced network settings, and find the DNS settings. Switch to manual configuration and enter your Raspberry Pi IP address. It will now use AdGuard or Pi-hole as its DNS server, and block ads in your web browser automatically. So, let's take a look at the differences between the two interfaces. Pi-hole has a decent dashboard, with colors and graphs to get a general idea on how everything is going. The menus are a bit overwhelming when you use it for the first time, with many levels and sublevels you'll probably never use. Sometimes that's great to have many options, but they should probably add a switch between basic and advanced views to help beginners. Overall, the interface is a bit old school, but it does its job. Some great points are that you can fine-tune what is blocked, which list you are using, disable everything for a few minutes, etc. On the other hand, AdGuard has a nice and modern interface. With simply a few options in the main menu, dashboard, settings, filters and query log. You can find some advanced options under settings and filters, but I find it way clearer than Pi-hole. AdGuard Home has an option to enable parental control, enforce safe search and filter malware domains. You can also use it as your main DHCP server, and choose DNS server you use. By default, AdGuard will use Quad 9 as its DNS server, instead of Google with Pi-hole. But you can easily switch to another option, or add load balancing or failover servers. This is the page where you can set AdGuard as your main DHCP server. Remember to disable the current one before enabling it, or it won't work. You can also disable AdGuard Home temporarily if needed. Just click the button on the home page to disable or re-enable it. A few block lists are installed by default, but you can always add other ones, enable or disable some if you experience any issue. The two solutions don't exactly use the same technology, but I'm not an expert in this field to explain the details about it. As a whole, I haven't noticed any major difference between AdGuard Home and Pi-hole concerning the blocked ads. For example, if you visit any fandom website without ad blocker, you'll get huge banners on the top and in the sidebar. When you enable Pi-hole or AdGuard on your network, the banners will disappear, but it keeps a blank space most of the time. For example, on Raspberry Tips, you'll see blanks paragraphs in my tutorials. So, it's not the best experience, but if the ads really annoy you, it's not that bad. Anyway, both solutions offer the same experience to the end user. As a whole, both solutions work the same way, by blocking ads and trackers for the clients. There are some slight differences, like the default DNS servers they use, Quad 9 versus Google, and the built-in technologies. AdGuard Home seems more state-of-art and intuitive than Pi-hole. If you are happy with your current setup with Pi-hole, there is not really any pressure to switch to AdGuard Home. But for a new installation, I would recommend testing AdGuard Home and see how it goes for you. Personally, I will probably switch to AdGuard in the coming weeks and see if I experience any major issue. I will keep you updated about this. If you are interested in any of these solutions, remember that I have step-by-step tutorials and videos about them. So, please check the description to get more details, installation steps and command lines. If you like that kind of videos, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next week for a new video to do new things on your Raspberry Pi.